So, it has been quite long. Let's go. Hello and welcome to Voice Over Chess. It has been a while, but hopefully we are back. In this video, I'm going to talk about the chess openings and some of its basic rules. So let's go. So before talking about the chess openings, what I would like to tell you about is the parts of chess. Okay, so chess is divided mainly in three parts. The first one being chess opening, the second being the middle game, and the third one being the end game. As the name suggests, the opening is just the opening phase of the game. However, there is no division line between the three of them. Like you started with an opening and you transformed it into a middle game, but you do not see a move that has suddenly transformed an opening into a middle game. There is not a move number that on move number 10 or 12 or 13 the middle game has started. It all depends upon the position in the game. Even if you have seen the game, it just translates smoothly. We cannot tell like on this move the opening got translated into the middle game or the middle game got translated into an ape. But what mainly we are gonna discuss about in this video is about the chess openings and some of its basic rules. Okay, so let's go. Okay, so the first thing I'm gonna talk about is the center of the board. Okay, so as the name suggests, center of the board are the four squares in the center of the board that are namely I can talk about E4, E5, D4 and D5. These are the four squares in the center of the board, and what we have to do in the starting of an opening is to cover these center using either of our minor pieces or the pawns. Let me suggest you an opening like C4, commonly known as English opening. In this opening C4, white has pushed its pawn to C4, but the pawn covers a square that is in the center, that is D5. Another opening which is famous is E4. E4 covers itself keep an eye on D5, also covers the E4 square. Similarly, a move D4. D4 covers both D4 and E5. So these are common openings. Also, the other moves that are common are knight F3 or knight C3. Knight C3 on the first move. As the knight is the only minor piece that can move on the first move, as it can jump over other pieces unlike bishop and rooks and etc., which I talked about in the last video. So here like the player played knight C3. Here the knight has come to C3, and as we know how the knight moves, we know that it covers the D5 as well as the E4 square, right? So it covers a bit of center, and that is what we have to gain in the opening. Okay, so first we have to gain in the center. So what I would prefer you to do is that you should put a pawn in the center, as the first thing is to play with the pawn. What a pawn does is actually, like you played E4, pawn actually opens up some of the pieces that can't jump over other pieces like bishops and queens, etc. Also, if you opened with E4, you have something to do, like you can move your bishop, you can move your knight, and you can castle. You have a plan, right? If you have moved first move like knight C3, you have to move the pawn in the next move, knight C3, knight F3. Now you are forced actually to move a pawn, right? You do not have any other move. You can move the rook here, but that's just a bad move. Okay, so in that case I would prefer you to play a pawn. The second thing I would like to talk about is the minor piece development. Okay, so the minor pieces which we talked about in the last video are majorly the four pieces from each side. The minor pieces are knight and bishop. So stepwise, if I can't count that, then we first talked about the center play. Now we have to capture the center, like we played E4, we played E5, and now what we have to do, we have captured the center, we can capture the center even more, and that is why we develop our minor pieces. Now we can develop our pawns as well. We can play the King's Indian whatever it is called. We can play F4, it is a common opening, I'm just forgetting the name, but we can play that also, but yes, you can play that. And you can also develop your minor pieces. Once you've gained the center, right, you have to develop your minor pieces, like knight f3, knight c6. Now you will develop another minor piece. He develops another minor piece. You develop another minor piece. Bishop, castles, and castles. Okay, so this is a very common opening, the G2 piano game. And in this opening, what we have done is what we have developed a minor pieces. Now, what is the common move from white side? It's d3. Why it is the most common move? We have to develop this black squared bishop, like the white square bishop, which is trapped because of its own pawn. We have to develop that minor piece. So what we have to do is that we have to develop minor pieces when after we have gained the center. Okay, so let me just talk about a very common opening which I play generally, which I have also talked about in the videos you can check out in my video in my channel. So it's the Stonewall attack. Okay, so it starts with d4. Let's suppose d5, e4, e6, bishop d3. What you have done, with d4 we have covered the d4 square and the e5 square. The opponent did the same, covered the d5 square and the e4 square. We developed, we pushed the pawn to e3. We could have pushed to e4, but it just loses the pawn. So we have pushed it to e3. It has blocked the way of the black colored bishop. It has made the white colored bishop very active. So on d3. Now, which minor pieces are to be developed first, which are to be developed where, that all depends upon the opening choice of yours, right? That is called the openings. The names which come in English, what we do is that we play c4, we bring our bishop to g2, we play our knight to f3, we play our knight to c3. That all depends upon the opening you choose. Okay, so in this opening I'm going to talk about, so the white plays bishop b6. Let's talk about a very common game, right? c5, c3, knight d2, castles and castles. Okay, and let's say bishop d7. So it is a very common position. Now here what white has done actually is he has played d4 as well as f4, having good control over one of the center squares, that is e5. The e5 square is like of the white player, right? The knight can jump anytime to e5, you can take, but the pawn takes, and there is full control of white on this e5 square. Similarly, if black pushes f5, somehow moves this knight and pushes f5, it has good square e4. And also the white player has a weak e3 square. That's completely different thing. That is what I'm talking about the opening. But what I would like you to focus on is that the white player has managed to get the center, right? Get the center. Also the black player has managed to get the center, right? The white player has managed to develop its minor pieces, right? Its black bishop of the white player is not that developed, but you can play b3 and play it to bishop b2 and it will be developed. Development just means moving it from the starting square to a square where it is more active, right? Now here it is a position where I told you the center has been gained and the minor pieces of both the sides have been developed. It's a common opening. Okay, the other thing I would like to talk about here is that e4, e5, and whenever you see a higher level game, no one will play knight h3. Why? It's because knight f3 just gains more center. When you are developing your minor pieces, either you attack the opponent's sides like something like bishop c4 attacking the f7 pawn, or you gain the center. Bishop c4 after something like knight f6, bishop c4, it's a wrong move actually, knight, let's say this thing, and bishop c4, right? It just gained more center. Knight, these both knights are eyeing these squares, these both knights are eyeing these squares, right? So what we have to do is that we have to play with pawns and minor pieces, and we have to pressurize on the center. We have to gain center. The center is these four squares. Okay, so we have to gain control over the centers, and what we have to do is that we have to place pieces such that it attacks the center. And there is a good theory that why we have to only talk about the center, because any piece, like let's say I moved my knight on h3. The knight on h3 doesn't have any good squares to move. If we do not talk about any good squares, we only talk about the squares it can go only to these three squares, right? However, if the knight moves to f3, it can go to these 4 squares, 5e actually, right? So that's the advantage. The more the piece is turned into the center of the game, into the center squares of the game, the more open space it has, the more squares it can cover. So that's the motto. Our piece should be open. First of all, the piece that is in the center or controls the center has the ability to go on any wing. Like we are in the center and someone attacks our king this side, we can just come here, right? Our pieces can just fall back and defend our king. Similarly, if queen side attack comes, we can go on the queen side. That's one advantage. The second advantage being the pieces have more squares covered and more squares to move. Okay, so that is for this part, and the next part is the king safety. Okay, so you must have seen in the opening I just talked this line. What we did in the last few moves, we developed all the minor pieces we could, right? I played knight d7, we could have played bishop d7. That's a common line that all depends upon the opening that I already told you. But we have developed some of the minor pieces, and now the next thing we have to do is we have to secure our king, right? King is the most important piece. And to secure a piece, chess offers a beautiful move called castling, right? The king can castle either on the king side, okay? The king side is called the right side of the board, right? The right side from the white side and the left side from the black side. That is just a lame definition given by me. Actually, the king side is the side where the king has been placed, right? The queen has been played this side, so this side will be queen side. The king has been played here, so king side. The king side will be this, okay? So the next thing I talked about is the king safety. Now, what did the black person do? He castles. What castling does actually is that it saves the king in front of these 3 beautiful pawns, right? These are like the guards, and that's why people on the higher level do not prefer to play h4 or h5 early in the game, right? They play after they have saved over the game, after they have castle long or castle short. There are games, of course, there are games where king is just in the center and people play h4, h5 attacking the king, but most of the times what chess player want to achieve is that that they want to secure their own king and attack the other, right? Do not give any chance of the counterplay to other person. So what we have to do is we have to secure our king by castling, right? You can do short castle or you can go long castle. Let's say queen c2, bishop d7, b3, b6, bishop here, something like a5. So you can go long castle, right? This is long castle. The king has to move only 2 squares and the rook moves 3 squares and it comes to the center. Now the other advantage of castling, the first advantage is that the king has been secured. The second advantage is that the rook has been placed in the center. The rook, as I told in the previous video, has its ability to move in straight lines, right? In vertical or horizontal files. So what we have to do is that we have to place the rook in such a position where there are pawn breaks. When we push our pawn and the pawns will be exchanged, okay, when we push our pawns and the pawns will be exchanged, the file will get open. That is where the rook is most active. So what we have done through castling is we have firstly secured our king and secondly placed our rook in the center. Okay, so that's the third part of the video. The next part we are gonna talk about is connecting rooks and moving the queen. Okay, so let's just go back to the starting position. Okay, so the first opening I talked about, yeah, bishop d and this. Let's say this. Don't worry about the opening or the moves I am moving. I'm gonna talk about all these in future videos. But first, I would like to focus on in this video is that you get the basics of the opening clear. The first, the center play, developing with the minor pieces, securing the king, and now you have to connect the rooks and move the queen, right? So the queen is not the minor piece, it's the major piece. There are 3 major pieces on each side, the 2 rooks and the queen, right? The 2 rooks and the queen are the major pieces, and these major pieces are to be moved later than the development of minor pieces. Now when the minor pieces have been developed to their specified positions, now what we can do is that we can move the queen First of all, queen in a middle game has either the way to attack on the king side, or secondly, if it's a positional game or nothing is being attacked so vigorously or something like that, the queen is like a supporter, right? The minor pieces have to play the game and the queen will support them in playing the game. So queen is to be placed very secure to a very secure square where it can coordinate with the other minor pieces and can help in gaining something. Okay. So second thing this queen movement has done is that it has connected the rooks. What the connection the rook means is that the rooks now can be moved from their opposite wings to other wings, right? The f rook can be moved to b1 and the a rook can be moved to e1. Now what this does is that we can either break through the queen side or the king side. It all depends on us, and when the break has been done, the rook is good on open file, so we can just put both of the rooks on the open files, right? The rook on a1 can move to the king side. We can push f4 after moving our knight, and we can push f4. If he takes, we can take with the rook and bring our other rook here, right? Belonging and keep the open files for the rooks, right? So that is all for the opening part. Thank you, and let's watch it and meet you in the next video. Thank you.